Sup everybody, EJ Spurl here. So this weekend I went to Vancouver to attend the screening of Cassie Jaye's film The Red Pill, being hosted by Simon Fraser University Advocacy for Men and Boys Club. It was a long day. I was up by 5:30, arrived in Vancouver by 12:30, saw the film at 2:30, left the film at 6:15ish. Point is I didn't get back to Victoria until probably about 11:45 that night, and I was so tired I fell asleep watching Westworld. So now I've had about a day to collect my thoughts on the film and reach my final verdict. So here it is. First, I want to say I didn't learn anything new from The Red Pill. However, I still believe that not only is it a wonderfully made film, but may represent a tipping point for the ability to have a conversation about men's issues outside of online spheres, which is what a lot of people have just been asking for. Because while the film did confirm my biases, I also recognize that I've been following men's issues for at least the past 4 years, and I've read a lot about it, so I know a lot of the issues. But ultimately, that movie wasn't made for me. And I think that's where a lot of people might find the disconnect. You know, it's not for men's rights activists. It's not for MGTOWs. It's not for any of these various sub-communities. Rather, it was made for bored housewives, introverts, Netflix addicts, people who may not necessarily be aware of even what an MRA is, let alone that men have issues that need to be addressed. But the film did a great job of covering those topics. Unlike some other documentaries, it also gives it a really human touch by focusing specifically on Cassie's own journey of discovery as she goes through each of the topics, talks to men's rights activists, talks to feminists, and it even showcases some of her more emotional moments where, you know, she's got these battling ideas in her head where it forces her to really look objectively at all these situations. So the film does spend a good deal of time talking about fathers' rights, going through a few stories, male victims of domestic violence and circumcision. In fact, there's one scene in the film that had everybody in the theater bending over in pain. And I think even the people in the theater who lacked a penis were bending over in pain out of sympathy. And if you've seen the film, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, I'm pretty sure you can guess. So anyways, after the film, the Advocacy for Men and Boys Club also hosted an hour-long Q&A session with Philip Johnston from the Vancouver chapter of the Canadian Association for Equality, Diana Davison from the YouTube channel Feminism LOL, and John the Other, a former contributor for A Voice for Men, current MGTOW supporter, and he also runs his own YouTube channel. So the Q&A in some ways was just as enlightening as the film itself. So while I've seen videos from both Diana and John, they're usually recorded in the privacy of their own home, and it was a far different thing to see them in front of a crowd of about 100 people and addressing their questions in a fair and open manner. It was also very interesting to see them actually being sympathetic to feminists in some ways, and that was a huge stark difference from what I see, because, you know, like, we get used to this YouTube kind of paradigm of like feminism wrecked, you know, and as funny as it is sometimes, you just get more of the same, and it's just more confirming our own biases, right? So it was nice to see some opinions coming from them that didn't necessarily paint feminism in a bad light, at least not entirely. So there's a ton of great questions, and at least one that had literally nothing to do with the film or the Q&A, and seemed to be asked purely because somebody had overheard a comment made by somebody at the event about the SFU policy of always acknowledging that the event is taking place in unceded First Nations territory. And now personally, I don't have a particular problem with that because it is clearly unceded First Nations territory. But I also agree that it shouldn't be a requirement simply because And it's not because I just want to ignore it. I don't think it should be a requirement, because it's a hell of a lot better when acknowledging that, to put it in your own words, and it feels much more genuine. If it's just part of a speech at the beginning of a program, it loses its meaning, at least in my opinion. Anyways, so long story short, the film I felt was masterfully done. Cassie Jaye did a wonderful job, and I believe wholeheartedly that this movie isn't made for MRAs. It's made for people who either don't know what they are or completely misunderstand what they stand for. Additionally, I really want to thank all the panelists during the Q&A. You guys also did great, and you responded to all the questions in a fair and open manner. And it was great to meet all sorts of new people from different walks of life, and I mean different walks of life. There were people that you would never have expected at such an event there, and there were a few people that you totally would have expected at the event. Yeah, and the catering was good. Raspberry Danishes were pretty boss. Anyways, so that's about it. Thanks for listening today, ladies and gents, and I will catch you next time. EJ out.